Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming along today, and welcome to Nikki Abridged here. I am wanting to talk to you about something very exciting happening in Europe this week, and that is Eurovision. So, if you live in Europe, you've probably heard of Eurovision. But if you are in, say, United States, this may be something that is brand new to you. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to kind of review and say, well, what is Eurovision? So let me give you some tips and some information and kind of bring you into the fold of understanding Eurovision, and specifically from an American point of view. So, for those of you who don't know me, hi. I and myself and my husband, we moved to the Netherlands in August of 2018. So, we've been living in the Netherlands for about 4.5 years at this point. We speak some Dutch, and we have been integrating ourselves into the culture. We bought a house. We have cats. I have a lot of orange things. So I've been definitely enjoying the Dutch culture and European culture at large. So I'm very excited about Eurovision. I am quite a fan of it at this point. And I thought, well, heck, why don't I give some information to other folks who can kind of then maybe understand a little bit about what is this Eurovision craze. So, what is the Eurovision Song Contest? Well, Eurovision.tv, which is the website that I have here up above me, has a lot of good information about this, and you can check out their website to find out more things. And of course, there's stuff all over the internet. So basically, there's a thing called the European Broadcasting Union, and that was created back in like the 1950s. And the idea was they created like this network in 1954, and the idea was to have exchange of excuse me, production and common and just to make things easier across Europe, so you could share resources and share some programming. Um, excuse me. So the initial framework for the contest. So basically, the Eurovision Song Contest is a song contest. Countries send a representative, a singer, to represent their country in the contest. Well, how did this come about, and how is this put together? So the initial framework for how was this going to work came from what's called RAI, which is Radio Televisione Italia. So basically, a broadcaster in Italy, and they had been they've been staging a festival called Festival di Sanremo, and Sanremo is a location, and so they were having a song festival in Sanremo, and that had been going on since 1951. So here we are, middle of 1950s, and the EBU is like, hey, we want to have something cool also, and that's a really cool idea. Let's use that as a kind of a an outline for what we want to do and have a song contest of our own. And that could be shown all throughout the EBU broadcasters, so they could share that that programming. So the very first contest was held in 1956 in May, and 7 countries participated. 7 nations competed. So you had the Netherlands, Switzerland, Belgium, Germany, France, Luxembourg, and Italy. So those were the 7 that competed in that first one. And they were still working things out, right? So every country had a singer go, and they did 2 songs, and then the winner was chosen from among those songs. So Switzerland won the very first year. Congratulations, Switzerland. Um, and then since then, more countries have joined in. Germany started participating the following year. They were doing their own contest that same year and were busy with that, so they missed the first year. But since then, they've actually participated every single year. 52 countries in all have participated in the Eurovision Song Contest in the entire time that it's been in existence. And it's been broadcast every year since 1956, with the exception of 2020 because of the pandemic, but they still did a special broadcast that year. So there still was a Eurovision broadcast, but there wasn't actually a Eurovision competition. So let's see, what else is interesting that you might find interesting to know about this? Australia, who is not in Europe, as you might know if you know any of your geography. The Eurovision Song Contest is a pretty European focused thing, right? It comes from the European Broadcasting Union, but the EBU has like different tiers of membership, and there's a lot more detail involved. But basically, if you are an EBU member, you can participate. But then Australia is not a member, but they're like an associate member. So Australia has been broadcasting Eurovision since like the 1970s. So there's a big following in Australia of Eurovision. Like people stay up all night because Eurovision happens in the evening in Europe, so it's happening like in the middle of the day, middle of the night, middle of the morning, for people in Australia. So they stay up all night and watch it and everything. So pretty diehard fans in Australia. So they had been following along since the 1970s. And so the 60th edition of the Eurovision Song Contest was in 2015, and they invited Australia to participate. As a big, 60th anniversary, 60th edition, celebration. And it was supposed to be just a one-off, but then they were invited back the next year because people thought it was really cool, and they've just barely been re-invited. So they got like an invitation that lasted through 2023, which is this year. And there hasn't been any information yet on what's happening next. Like, is this the last year that Australia will be participating, or will they get to continue on? We don't know yet. So anyway, but that's a little off track. So what is the Eurovision Song Contest? It is a song contest wherein countries will send a representative to represent them in this contest, and so countries are competing against other countries to win the Eurovision Song Contest, and it takes place in May every year. Let's see. Ireland has won the most times. They've won 7 times. Sweden has won 6 times, and France, Luxembourg, the UK, and the Netherlands have each won 5 times. And it is the most watched, one of the most watched non-sporting events in the world. So it's a big deal. There's a lot of people who watch it. A lot of people get very excited about it. Okay, now there are rules. So what are the rules? Well, it has changed over the years. You have to be a TV broadcaster from a country who's a member of the EBU. And so like there will be maybe there's multiple broadcasters in a country. Well, at least one of those must be a member of the EBU, and they're the ones who are then making all these decisions about like who will go to represent them, and they broadcast then the competition on their channel, things like that. Funny little side note, I learned that Belgium, where they speak French and Dutch, so there's 2 broadcasters there, and apparently both of them are members of the EBU, and they take turns. One year it's the Dutch group, and the other year it's so one French and then Dutch, French, Dutch. They go back and forth, and so they just take turns like that, and so they get some. So one year it seems like it's more of a French option, and the other year it might be more of a Dutch option. It's a really interesting way to do it. Now, you used to have to sing in your country's native language. That was a rule until 1999, and then they changed that. Your song is supposed to be politically neutral. The number of performers on stage has changed over time, and whether it's dancing or no dancing, that has changed over time. And the use of backing track vocals, that's pretty new. Okay, so now the rules are that you can have 6 people on stage total, no more. You can dance, and you can use backing track vocals because they brought that in during the COVID-19 pandemic to kind of reduce the number of delegation members that you needed to have traveling with you during the pandemic. So they went ahead and said, hey, you can just use backing vocals instead of bringing all these humans with you. So, also, your song has to be 3 minutes or less. 301? Not allowed. 3 minutes or less. Yes, and up to 6 people on stage. They can sing, they can dance, whatever. Somebody's got to sing, though. It's a song contest. You got to have somebody singing live. And they all have to be 16 or older. And then the winner, whoever wins the whole contest, whichever country wins the contest, they get to host the competition the following year. So Europe, used to have fewer countries. When this started, at least in the 1950s. We're talking, post-World War II. They were trying to come up with ways to kind of get along, maybe have fights through music instead of, other ways that are more deadly. So then later on in the 1990s, there was an explosion of new countries or rebirth of countries that had existed previously but had been absorbed for a little while and now they're, reforming. So there were a whole lot of countries that were like, hey, we're here now and we would like to also compete. So the whole contest kind of shifted around that time, and there it took, I think, a kind of a couple decades really for it to settle into the form that it's in now. They kind of had to get a little creative, and they had at one point they had things where like, okay, these people have competed before, so they are in, but these people are new, so we got to choose, and let's have a secondary little thing, and then you choose from among those and send those, and so it got a little chaotic because at this point now there's what did they say? 40, no, like 57, I think, countries are competing this year. It gets big. So, what they do now is they have two semifinals. So, all interested countries get to compete in one of those two semifinals. There's one on Tuesday and there's one on Thursday. And then the grand finale, the grand final, is on Saturday. Um, so to see who is on Tuesday and who is on Thursday, you don't get to choose. There's a random drawing. They have a whole televised event over it. It's rather fun. One of the things you have to remember about the Eurovision Song Contest is it's rather kitschy. It takes itself somewhat seriously, but it also recognizes that it needs to. It's fun. It's lighthearted. There's a lot of levity involved, and so on the one hand, yes, it is a serious thing for you want to have a good voice, you want to have good singing, you want to have a good song, well put together, well crafted, all of those things. But at the same time, there's a lot of kitsch involved. So the random drawing, I love the fact that it's televised. They like, do the giant balls. They open it up and pull out the paper and like, hey, this person, this country, and so on. And they put them up on the boards, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So the Tuesday semifinal happens, and the top 10 from that go to the grand final. And then the Thursday happens, same thing. The top 10 from that, they go on to the final. So you've got the 10 from the first semifinal, the 10 from the second semifinal, so that's 20. But there's going to be 26 countries that are in the grand final. Why? Because there are 6 countries that automatically get into the final. They don't even have to compete in the semifinals, they're just automatically in. So last year's winner, who is usually the host, they're automatically in. They don't have to qualify, they're automatically into the final. And then there's a group called the Big Five. Used to be the Big Four, now it's the Big Five. And they're the biggest financial contributors to Eurovision. So Eurovision is not free and it's not cheap to put on. And so there's a handful of countries that have kind of stepped up and said, okay, we guarantee we will always make, a contribution of, whatever size to make sure that the contest can continue and can run. So those 5 countries get in automatically into the final. They never compete in the semis. And those are France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and the United Kingdom. So that gives us 26 in the final. So those, the Big Five, the winner from last year, and then the 10 and the 10. So there we go. Now voting, there's 2 groups that vote. You have the televote, where people in Europe, or people from the participating countries, when the contest is on, there'll be like numbers. They'll say, now you can vote for, put 06, put 07, whatever at the end, right? So you basically text that in, and it costs, like €1 or something per vote that you do. And so, but that is how you get the public vote, because, the public gets to vote on who they think did really well. Then you also have a jury, and those can be, each country chooses who gets to be on their jury, but it's usually people who are involved in the music industry in some fashion, maybe some singers, maybe producers, maybe songwriters, people who know music in some way or another. And so that jury will also vote. Now, how do the points work? Because you may have heard something like, nil point. So the contest is generally done in English, but also in French. So a lot of times you'll see, if you see like memes or you see videos or anything like that, there may be stuff where somebody's talking in English and then they're talking in French. And if it's in a country that is that's not their primary language, like in Italy, then they may also do some of the announcements in Italian. Or, when it was in the Netherlands a couple years ago, they also did a bunch of stuff in Dutch. Excuse me. So it's really cool to see the multilingual aspect of the event. Also, you can sing in any language you want. Most of them sing, many of them sing in English because that seems to have the broadest knowledge base, I guess, as you would say. Like most of the people who are watching it have some English knowledge or exposure, and so they're able to understand what the song is about. But people will sing in other languages. When Italy won a couple of years ago, it was all done in Italian, and it was great. So you don't have to sing in English in order to win. Absolutely, you can sing in whatever language makes you happy. So okay, so there's the televote, and then there's the jury vote. Now, what they do for the so points are awarded, and points are awarded starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then they skip 9. They go straight to 10. They skip 11 and go to 12. 12 is the most points that a country can earn from another country. You can't vote for your own country. It's not fair. And in fact, they won't let you. So, for example, I have a Dutch telephone number for my cell phone. And if I were to vote, it won't let me vote for the Netherlands. Like, it's like, oh, you have a Dutch number. Can't vote for Dutch. So if I was living in Germany, I could vote for the Netherlands if I had a German phone number. But here in the Netherlands, you cannot vote for your own country. Okay. Let's take the jury vote. So the jury will figure out who they want, to give their votes to, and they'll be like, okay, this is our favorite. This one gets 12 points. This is our next favorite. This one gets 10. And then, down from there, our next is 8. This one's not 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 points. Done. And then the rest of them don't get any points from that country. And then they do the same thing with the televote then. So they take all the votes that came in from a country, so like from the Netherlands, they'll take all of the votes that individuals have voted, and they tally it up, and whoever got the most votes gets 12 points from the televote. And then whoever had the second most gets the 10 points, whoever gets the third most gets 8, and then 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So if you didn't get any points, if your country got 0 points from somebody, you got no point. You had 0 points. So sad. So that's how the voting works. And so what they do is they total up all the points that a country received from all the other countries through the televote and through the jury vote. And then they figure out, well, how many points did you get? That's how many points you earned. And then that, based on how many points everybody earned, then you figure out, okay, who got the most, who got second most, so forth. And so that's for the semifinal and the first semifinal and the second semifinal. That's how they'll figure out who those top 10 are, and those are the ones that are going to the final. Once you're in the final, it starts all over again. Got to do new voting, new juries, all of that. Or the same jury, but new jury voting. Interestingly, this year, they are doing a special thing where the semifinals are only having points by the televote, the people voting with their phones. And you get 10 votes, by the way. You can't vote more than 10 times. I think it records what phone numbers have voted or something. I don't know the details on it. I know that because we're in Europe, there's privacy rules, so I don't know how much detail they know, but I know you can only vote 10 times. So this year there's no jury voting for the semifinals. So everybody who gets into the final, it's going to be because of the popular vote, and not necessarily because of because sometimes what happens is people will get very excited about the popular vote, and maybe you've got somebody who's got a lot of followers on Instagram, for example, or they just, caught the general, zeitgeist of the moment, and they got, people got very excited about them, but maybe it's not a really good song. I don't have any examples of that, but I'm just saying that can happen. And so that's why why a lot of times they have both, because they kind of balance each other out. But there are definitely times when a really popular, really good song that the crowds really like struggles because the juries give it like no points, and but yet it's very popular and the people love it, and so it seems like the juries are a bit out of touch. So this year it's just the popular vote that's going to get people into the grand final, out of the semifinals. So I'm kind of curious to see how that turns out. As you can see, they keep tweaking the contest a little bit, all the time, just to, I don't know, kind of keep it modern and keep up with what's happening in the world, I think. Okay, so we've talked about the contest, like what is it, right? And we've talked about some of the rules and some of the framework of it. So let's talk about some of the traditions that come along with this contest. When the artists are performing, I think this is just in the grand final, there'll be these things called postcards, where basically they show the artist, and actually maybe they do this in the semifinals. No, I think they do it in the semifinals too, because now that I think about it, I think some of them you see twice, once in the semifinals and once in the grand final, where basically the artist goes to, they show, the host country has some way where they show the artist at some location in their country, because they want to both highlight the artist but also highlight their country that is hosting. So it's a way to kind of show off your, the country that you are, and when you're hosting, maybe you show off like these amazing forests or rocks, or geological structures, or maybe some famous buildings or some architecture that you really want people to see, various things like that. I think for this year everybody went to the UK, and I'll explain that in a minute, and they went to various places, and so what you're doing is, like, say you're about to perform, and they'll show the postcard of you, your group, your band, you, whatever it is, and there'll be a short introduction about you, like, hey, this is so and so, here's some cool little tidbits about them, and here they are performing their song, It's My Song. And then they'll go to the stage, and there'll be some sort of, lighting indicating what country it is, and then boom, their 3 minutes begins, and they do their song. Now, I mentioned that people went to the UK, but I think I also mentioned possibly that Ukraine won last year. So what's the deal? Well, the scoop on this one is that the winning entry last year was Ukraine. Kalush Orchestra did win with a song called Stefania. It was fantastic. I really liked it. I know some people were like, oh, it's people were feeling sorry for Ukraine, and they got the sympathy vote. But I really thought the song did merit the win. He wrote it. I know, right? Our cat's singing about it too. The lead singer wrote it about his mom, and talking about kind of his journey about when he was a kid. He thought, oh, it was whatever, my mom. But then as he got older, he's like, wow, I have such respect for my mom. I love my mom. And then it has this kind of like lullaby through as the chorus. It was really lovely. And then because of current events, it kind of grew into this larger metaphor for the country of Ukraine, and the love that people have for it and all of that. So yeah, it definitely took on a larger meaning, but I think the song definitely merited it, and I thought it was really well done. So Ukraine won last year, and they very much wanted to host this year. But we are coming up, like, the Eurovision Song Contest for 2023 is coming up this week. It is happening, and there's a lot of preparation that has to happen. So there was a decision that was made, and there were some conversations, and basically the second place winner from last year was the UK, and UK has not done terribly well in the Eurovision Song Contest for many years. I think part of it is that they just kind of don't take it seriously. I've watched a little bit of news programming where they're talking about it, and I feel like they just don't really know what it is when they're talking about it in the news. So it's kind of funny. Anyway, but the UK did fantastic last year. Sam Ryder came in with this song called Spaceman, and he's just got this amazing vocal range, and he is like a golden retriever put into human form. He's just so, he's just adorable and lovable, and you just want him to do so well. So he came in second, and also a fantastic song. And so the UK said, hey, we will offer to host for you on your behalf, if you want. And so everybody eventually agreed to that. As much as I would love to have seen it hosted in Ukraine, it wouldn't have been really safe to do it still at this point. So we are in the UK this year, and so then they went through a whole process of like, well, which city is going to host it within the UK, and so the different cities were like, well, this is what I can do, this is what so there was kind of like a bidding process, and there was a whole like going through and eliminating, okay, this isn't, but this one's good, this one's good, this one's good, and then deciding amongst that group like who is the best one, and Liverpool won. So home of the Beatles, or well, original home of the Beatles. So there's been some fun Beatles stuff going on with some of the contestants. They're very excited. So we'll come back to that in a second. Okay, so the postcards, we were mentioning that the artist is featured at a location in the host country with a short audio introduction. And when it's broadcast, when Eurovision broadcast is happening, usually you have a local to you host. So like when they're showing it on our Dutch channel, the audio that we get, the audio feed will be in Dutch. There will be a Dutch presenter, doing the audio feed. BBC, they'll be having, somebody's doing it in English. So the short audio introduction can be different from one place to another because that introduction is kind of done by the local audio, whoever, whatever they have to say. Okay. Let's see. So we got the postcards. We talked about that. Another tradition is at the grand final, there'll be an opening performance to kind of kick off the show, and then all of the contestants perform in let's talk about the grand final, and then while all the voting is being tabulated, there'll be an interval act, and those two can be some rather significant acts. For example, in 1994, Riverdance was the contest was held in Ireland, and Riverdance was, I believe, the interval act, and it was like the first time this was like their thing, and from that performance and that broadcast, it just jettisoned them into it became an internationally known dance and everything. So that's pretty exciting. Like, so things like that come out of Eurovision. ABBA won with their song Waterloo and helped push them up into the public eye, and probably jettison their career a bit. So traditionally the reigning champion, so whoever won the previous year, returns to perform the song that they won with. So that's really fun because a lot of times you're performing on your home soil with the song that you won, representing your country. So that's pretty exciting. There's another fantastic song out there that was done in 2016 called Love, Love, Peace, Peace. And it was an interval song. And the whole thing basically is just a send up of a whole bunch of other Eurovision things. So, like, there's one of the winners. One year she was kind of like dancing across the stage, and so they have somebody do that. There's tradition. They talk about various traditions, like using traditional instruments from your country. And so they bring in like a grandma to play, or and then there's one point there's a woman who's churning butter, and that's a reference to an entry from before that of some women who are very traditionally dressed but also rather buxom and having some somewhat suggestive moves, and it was really funny. So if you get a chance, go and check out Love, Love, Peace, Peace, and then do like an internet search for understanding the references that they're making, because then that'll just take you down a deep rabbit hole, but it's a lot of fun. So some staples of the contest, the kinds of songs you'll run across. There's going to be power ballads, just these, and there's going to be like just these full breath, wah, 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 kinds of things, right? And then you also get like very locally inspired things, or using possibly some traditional instruments of that country, some folk rhythms maybe. And then you also definitely get your bops. the stuff you might hear on the radio, the cutesy stuff, the stuff that maybe not so deep, He Done Me Wrong, or I'll Love You Forever, or Gosh, You Broke My Heart, that genre of pop music, and you'll see that in every year. So it's a wide variety that you find in the show, and I just love that. Now, another thing that will come up about Eurovision, I'm just going to cover this quickly, but voting patterns. So there's been a lot of research on this topic. Like there's research papers and articles and all sorts of stuff about how different countries vote for each other, and particularly the juries. But basically, what it comes down to is people vote for their neighbors sometimes. Often there's voting patterns of people voting for their neighbors. For example, the Netherlands and Belgium were voting for each other a lot at one point. There is a history of people voting for their political allies, perhaps, like Russia and Belarus were doing that at one point. There's also, though, a side that says, hey, but maybe they're also voting because there's similar musical influences between, like, say, the Netherlands and Belgium, because we're so regional right here. Luxembourg also, we're going to have similar music on the radio from one place to another, and so there's going to be similar musical tastes and, and shared culture of the area. There's going to be a degree of similarity and comfort and familiarity there. So that could be another reason why you are voting for something that just seems a little bit closer to your culture and makes more sense to you. Another thing that's interesting, though, is there's a lot of people who have moved into other countries, whether for job, for school, those sorts of things, or because of a war situation. You've got people who then have a large group of people who've ended up in another country or in a number of other countries, and those people, because they're not in their country anymore, they're elsewhere, they're diaspora or whatever, they will then end up a lot of times voting for their home country, because again, it's that what's familiar, what they like, and that strong passion for that. So it's really interesting because there's a lot of information out there on voting patterns. So if that's something that interests you, that's a whole nother rabbit hole that you can go down. Okay, another set of traditions. Between like March and May, there's a series of pre-parties, because at that point who's competing, what countries are coming, who they're sending, what the song is, because it has to be a brand new song. I think I forgot to mention that, but it does have to be a brand new, not previously released song. So at this point, we know what the songs are. And so there's a series of pre-parties where the artists can perform. So it's like a mini concert or actual concert. They can chat with the media, so you'll have all these different media folks who are there and really excited to talk to these guys. You have the fans, the followers. They can go and enjoy the concerts, have some meet and greets and things like that. So Amsterdam started one back in 2008. That's run every year since then. So that's kind of like on the circuit, if you were, that reminds me of my Ren Fair days, when you were like, okay, this month we're here, next month we're there, next month we're there. It has, similar sort of things. So between March and May, they go to Amsterdam, there's London, there's Barcelona, there's Madrid. So there's a number of different places where these acts will go and perform in that period of time. So you might hear some things like that, or maybe there'll be clips online of various things. So that's where you might see some of that coming from. There are lots of social media done by the folks who are competing, drumming up votes, getting excited, getting people excited about them. There's also websites and blogs and lots of other media out there. One of my favorites is Wee Wee Blogs, and I'll just point that out here. So William Lee Adams, let me scroll up just a touch here. He is the author of this new book. It's coming out tomorrow. And it's his journey of Eurovision. He's been a Eurovision fan for a number of years, and he has this whole website now where he does a whole blogs. Like he has, like, you can see how much information he has up on the website. It's a ton of stuff, and he has a YouTube channel and all sorts of things. So that's one of my favorite places to go. So there are definitely lots of people who follow Eurovision and will write about it and stream about it and talk about it. So that is definitely one of the traditions. is, you know, people having a lot of opinions and thoughts about the contest. We'll come back to that in a minute. So let's see. During the contest, the delegations have a space. There used to be like there's a green room of some sort, and sometimes it used to be like just a bunch of couches, and people would just kind of sit around until it was their turn to perform and go out and come back, whatever. For about 10 years now, my understanding is that the green room for the delegations, so the singers, their people that are on stage with them, and like the couple of people that helping them out, like the managers or, you know, whoever's carrying the bags and whatnot. They have like their own little pod, and it's usually out in the public space now, so like they can go and watch the other performers perform. And it's kind of near the stage. In the last couple of years, at least, it has been. So that's been really fun to see, because as the contest goes on, people are backstage getting ready, getting dressed, or doing, getting their vocals ready, whatever. And then once they come out and they perform, then they're ready to relax. So you'll see them go into their little green room space down in amongst the crowd, and it fills up over the time, and it's so fun to watch the people who've already competed and how they're cheering on the people who are competing, and that's so much fun. It's really neat to see that happening. There's a real sense of camaraderie in between the groups, as far as I can see, and especially this year there's a lot of, oh, I don't care if we win, we just are having a great time with everybody. And I mean, of course everybody wants to win, but they're not being real cutthroat about it, which is I don't know, it's just really lovely to see. Okay, let's see. Another tradition is like the 2 weeks leading up to the event. So the event is this coming Saturday. So like last week and then all of this week, there's all sorts of stuff going on. So Sunday, which would have been yesterday then, there's a red carpet event, or this year it was a turquoise carpet event. I think it was a purple carpet event one year. But anyway, you know, a fantastic red carpet event where they introduce the acts, and there'll be like an interview. Everybody is like dressed to the nines. They get to put on some amazing outfits. And so there'll be some historic building usually involved. What they did this time is they came out of like a national library down these gorgeous steps, had a little interview, went around the corner, had some pictures for the press, went down this, continued down the pathway, and there was place for the media to interview them as they went along, and then they ended up at some gala reception type of thing. So really celebrating the people who are performing and being a part of the whole experience. So that was neat, and they had 1,000 fans that were invited to be there also. So they had like the gates and things, so you couldn't the performers had like a pathway, and then people were lined up on both sides of that to be able to interact with them. So that was really neat. And a lot of this is up on the Eurovision Song Contest YouTube page. So for example, I did not catch the turquoise carpet event yesterday when it was live, but they went ahead and reposted it. They've so they're posting a lot of their stuff on the website. Last year and the year before, they I just forgot her name, but they had this really lovely woman who did backstage interviews and conversations, and kind of gave us like a behind the scenes stuff, and she was fantastic. And so that was up then on the YouTube page, and then they made a list, a video list where you could then just catch all of them in a row, all the videos that she had done. So they do it, and here's the funny thing though. Each country is hosting it differently. Yes, you have your guidelines. Yes, you have your rules, but each country gets to choose how they want to do it. And so when it was in the Netherlands, there was a very different feel from, say, the way it's being done in the UK, right? You have different hosts, you have different interviewers, it's a different style in each place. So it's really interesting to watch that and see how each place does it differently. But the cool thing is, I wish I could remember her name. Somebody in the comments put that there, or I will put it in the description, because when I post this video, I can go and grab that. So I'll probably do that. And what they did is because she was so popular doing the Dutch stuff that when it was in Italy the following year, they invited her to come in and do more interviews there. So that was fantastic. So let's see. Okay, what else? What are some other traditions? There is a Eurovision village. So the city that's hosting it, in this case Liverpool, will have kind of like a parallel festival almost in the Eurovision village. And they can do whatever they want with that, but it's usually done up in some fantastic way. There'll be concerts throughout the week happening there, all the way through, like up to the grand finale. There's like food and drinks and tables, and it's like a big festival going on, like right next to or near somewhere nearby the main event where that's happening. But it's usually free. It's or not too high of a cost. So this time, the Eurovision Village, my understanding is it's free all the way through up until Saturday, and then Saturday evening there might be some cost. And they'll have like giant screens where you can watch the contest that's happening in the other building where you do have to pay for tickets. But you can like sit out here for free or whatever it's going to cost and just watch it with, 1,000 other people, right? How exciting would that be? Because a lot of people do have Eurovision parties, and they'll put out like, foods of different countries, little flags, or, dressing up in their country's colors, various things like that. And so it's fun to, the idea is, to me, would be fun to go and be with a whole bunch of other people to do it. On the other hand, it starts at 9 o'clock at night on Saturday. I'm perfectly fine being home at the end of that because I think we went to a friend's house last year. I think it was last year, and watched it. And we got home at like 1 or 2 in the morning. It was late, so I'm okay with being home and just being able to stumble up to my bed at the end of that. All right. So, speaking of traditions, right? We've talked about a lot of different traditions. So, here's another couple. So, making your predictions about who's going to make it to the final and who's going to win. That's a big one, and that's where I was thought we would go to next. Now, I don't have predictions for everything, but I do want to, let's see, let's pull up the artists. Now, this is great. I love the way they did the website. So they have the artists here, and it's Liverpool 2023. And and each year they have a theme. This year's theme is United by Music. It's a great theme. I like that. So they have an overview of everybody, of the event. Then they've got, there's Kalush Orchestra. That's who won last year. And they have a list of all of the participants in alphabetical order. But I want to go by each semifinal. So we're going to do first semifinal. Here we go. And they're in alphabetical order here. So let me grab my little list because I have a list of what are my opinions. So, these are who are the countries that are participating in the first semifinal. So we have the first semifinal, then we have the second semifinal, and then the grand final, we know it's those 6 that I mentioned earlier, the big 5 plus last year's winner, who's Ukraine down here. Okay, so the first semifinal, here we go. Azerbaijan, they are a pair of twins, and they wrote the song, I believe together. It has the song is Tell Me More, and it has this very kind of languid musical feel to it as you're going into it, which I do really like. I like the way that sounds. Lyrically, it doesn't really work for me. It starts off as if it's a voice message that he's leaving for somebody, and he's basically saying, and the song is basically like, hey, we need to touch base, tell me how you feel about us, which seems like a strange thing to leave in a voicemail. Maybe people do that, I don't know. And the order that they do it in just seems really weird, because they go, tell me about, well, basically he says, tell me about me, you, us, and he goes on from there. And then he ends it with like, right now. So we kind of joke that it sounds like he's basically saying, tell me more about me. And I know that's not the intention of the song, but that's kind of how it turns out. So, sorry, Azerbaijan. I'm not thinking. I'm not giving you high marks, and I don't think you're gonna go through to high heights with this song. But they do dress nicely. All right, Croatia. Croatia's entrance is very interesting this year. It's a group called Let Three. They've been around for decades. They've got like 10 albums out there. They're very well known, and their song is done in and not in English, and it's um, anyway, basically, they're a very flamboyant group. They're very well known for um, how do I want to put this? Basically, big things that create a big impact. Like they perform naked. One thing. They do crazy things and outlandish. They're known for being outlandish. But at the same time, they're I mean, they wouldn't have 10 albums out without like having some skill behind it, right? It's not just they're not just a one trick pony, right? They are musicians, and the so it depends on how their performance is. So that's a big thing. For those of you who are new to the Eurovision thing, is that you've got your song, but it's not just a song. It's not a listening contest. There's an actual performance that happens. So how well that performance is received and performed will really does make a big impact on how well that song does and how well that country does then in the votes overall. So I think Croatia, it has a very anti-war theme about it. It's definitely taken the piss out of a number of war movies and things like that. It definitely has some call outs to current events. Um, and I really appreciate that, and I think they've done a great job. In their purple carpet thing today, they came out with these like crazy huge like robe dresses, and then underneath they had like the oh, I forget what it's called all of a sudden, but with like a bustle, but not a bustle, but it's all the way around the hoop skirt, but the short version. And so they like took off the robes and they had like t-shirts on with a child's face and the eyes are covered, and just like crazy over the top stuff. So I think it's possible, depending on what they do in their performance, it might be a little over the top for your average voter, but who knows? Maybe they will really connect, and maybe a lot of people who are fans of Croatia or from Croatia will vote for them who live elsewhere. It could go through. I don't really know, but I made some notes basically of like, will it go through to the final? I don't know. But should it go through to the final? I think it should. I think it's well done. And I think if people get past kind of the shock factor of it or embrace the shock factor of it, I think they will enjoy it. And I think that it can do well. Okay. So our next one is Czechia over here, which my great grandmother is from what was the Czechoslovakia at the time. She was born in Old Bohemia. Things changed over the time between when she was born and when she moved to the United States, and now as her great granddaughter is streaming on the internet. Anyway, it's beautiful. It's called My Sister's Crown, and it's 6 women in this beautiful harmonies. Each person, they sing, they have the different people singing at different points for the verses, and I can't remember how many languages there are. There's like 4, 6 languages that they use throughout it. There's some English. It's amazing. There's definitely, I would say, an undercurrent of support for Ukraine in here. I read the song as, my sister, because the song is basically my sister's crown. You can't take it down. Nobody has a right to do that. And I take that as they're saying, Ukraine is who they're singing about as being their sister. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm reading into it. But I like it. There was an entry by Russia a few years ago, which was a Russian woman, where they were basically like, Russian woman, you're strong, you know your strength. and it's not as vocally similar, but kind of that female strength and coming together and supporting each other. It has that kind of vibe to me, and I love it. The harmonies are beautiful. Um, the staging, we'll have to see what they do with the staging. If that really, because if it's amazing staging, it'll absolutely push them into the final. I think they should go to the final anyway. I think they will. I think people will vote for them because the harmony is just beautiful. Um, and I made a note that I thought they were smart to include some lyrics in English to help keep people engaged because there's a lot of it where I'm just like, I don't know what they're saying. And I can go to the internet and there's translations out there. But in the moment, I don't necessarily know what they're saying or I forget or whatever. And so I think it was really smart to include some lyrics in English, even though the entire song isn't in English, to kind of keep people in there with them. I thought that was a smart move. So I think it's smartly put together. I really like what they've done. So that's yeah, that's those ladies over there on the side. Okay, the next one is one of the first Eurovision songs I heard this year, and that's over here. That is our Finnish entry, Karja, with Cha Cha Cha, and it is in your face sounding. I really wasn't sure about it at first. It's very like hard dance tune in your face, cha 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 cha. It kind of like attacking. And I joke that in the middle it sounds like it turns to an anime song. But it has really grown on me. I really like the song. The guy is so funny because he's he has this crazy outfit with these spikes and it's like and Hulk looking arms and everything and bare chested and it's definitely a very strong look and he starts off kind of that way but then give him a few minutes and he is just like he is not that at all. I mean, and the funny thing is, his song is kind of like that, basically about how he's kind of like, not so sure, but then give me a pina colada and I'm good. All the walls come down. I can feel comfortable, and it's kind of like that's a version of himself, I think, because in the interviews he'll be like, yeah, 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 and then and then he calms down, and it's just like he's just so sweet and kind, and everybody, like all the other contestants, are just falling in love with him. So I'm curious to see how that does, but I think it will do well. Um, I hope it does because I think it has the possibility to do that, and I think he's so funny. All right, so next one is Ireland, and Ireland has a song "We Are One," and it's all in English. Um, my comments are basically that it's nice, it's a pleasant idea that we're all one together. Um, it's just overall nice. Um, I don't know that it has something that will grab people enough. Like I could hear it on the radio, but I don't think it would be like a number one hit on the radio. It would be one of those songs that you would hear often. You'd be like, "Oh, that's nice. That's not nice. That's I like that song." Um, but it's not something that like kind of gets your blood moving, right? So I think they're a maybe for going through to the final. Um, yeah, I like the song. It's just I think I think whether they go through or not will kind of depend on how their stage performance does. Like, is it full of energy? Does it get people engaged? Does it bring people in and get them excited for them? And if that's the case, then yes, I think they will go through. But if the stage performance is kind of the same tone as the song, it might just be too calm and nice for it to go through. I don't know. We'll see. They seem like pleasant guys, though, so we'll see how that does. Okay, one of our non-European but and countries that is in Eurovision and has been for a number of years is Israel, and the, so remembering that Eurovision has rules about being not political, being very politically neutral. So I will maintain that here. But I will mention that there are a number of countries that also could compete in Eurovision, that are also in that area of the world because they are also EBU members, but they do not because of tension between Israel and other countries. So it's always interesting to see Israel in and others out, and yeah, it's a thing. It's just something that exists. So okay, um, so she has a song called Unicorn, and her whole chorus is about she has the power of a unicorn. Um, that's pretty much it. Like she has the power of a unicorn. So cool. It's got it's kind of catchy. She does this thing where she's like pretend like you're on the phone, turn it upside down and stick that on your head and now you're a unicorn. so so people are running around doing that. Which is a really smart thing to do because you give people a dance or something to do physically, or you give them something to do vocally, like you know, cha 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 cha. That gets people engaged, and so I think that's a smart move on her part to have, you know, the unicorn, you know, movement that she can do. Um, the song itself, um, it kind of reminds me of like a Britney Spears song. It has that kind of, you know, pop beat, you know, thing going on. It's got a lot of repetition in it. So I like the music. I like the way it sounds. The lyrics don't really engage me much. She doesn't really talk about like what unicorn powers does she have. Like, you know, does she have the power to like sniff out virgins, or is like does her blood like magical? Like, does she fly? Like, is she able to stab people with her head? Like, what unicorn powers are we talking about? So it's a cool idea. It just doesn't resonate with me. Do I think it will go through? I do. She's got a part a breakout in the song where she stops singing and she just dances, and she's, you know, very athletic. She's very able to move her body around. From the little piece that I've seen, they've only released little bits and pieces of what their stage performance is going to be in the final. What we have seen so far is there are videos where they did like basically a music video, and so everybody can hear the song and see the song. There's a CD or DVD, or the music has been released, so we have like the MP3s of the music. We bought that from Eurovision. In the music video, she does some things where she's crawling around on the ceiling. And obviously she's not doing that in the stage performance. The stage performance for all of them, it looks to be like there's a giant screen behind them where there's going to be visuals. The floor often has some lighting up bits. I'm not sure what's happening with that. With this, I think there is some lighting up stuff happening on the floor. So the like 30-second spot we've seen of her involves her dancing, and she seems very athletic and very capable of dancing. It's not a dance contest, though. It's a song contest. So I don't think this is going to rank high in the song contest part, but it wouldn't surprise me if she makes it to the final, because people will probably see her dancing and be like, oh, that's sexy, that's hot, let's put that in the final. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Israel go through to the final. Okay, the next one, Latvia. Let's see. Oh, this one is, if I recall correctly. So my problem is the songs that are not in English, and I know this is terrible, is I'm still trying to get the country and the title of the song and the song in as I hear it, because what we did is so I am fully immersed in wanting to know more about the countries, the singers, what they're doing, like all this behind the scenes stuff. I want to know it all. And whereas my husband is going completely the opposite, right? We actually anonymized the music, so he didn't know what country it was, the name of the song, any of it. We would just listen to the songs over and over and over again. So I've heard all of these songs dozens of times, but I don't necessarily know who did which song. So sometimes I have to play a little clip, and then I'm like, that one. But this one, I do remember which one this is, and it's got this really lovely little. It's a lovely sounding song, and it's I like, and there's like the syncopation that happens in it, and I like the overall sound of the song. So I think the song itself is good. I think the staging will be important for getting votes. So and not just staging, I should say. because when you're sitting at home, they don't just put this camera on the stage and say go. It becomes a whole thing where they have multiple cameras on the performers, and they work with the performers to create a whole experience. And so sometimes they will have the camera like right in, and maybe the singer is singing directly to the camera and giving that like intense personal moment. Or sometimes maybe the camera is just flying around the person. Or, I've seen times when like they've had the main singer like kind of almost grab the camera and they walk together as and they're singing to them. So it so when I say the staging will be important, I don't mean just where they're standing on the stage, but literally all these other pieces that are in play. And that can be an unfair advantage for some countries because every country gets to send people to help their countries, that's being represented. So, like Sudden Lights, for example, they may have somebody who's very good at knowing how stage, what vision should look like and how to frame a good, look and how to, really capture the personalities of the different people in the band. Or they may be all by themselves. There's another one, I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's somebody who's competing that basically they're doing it all themselves. They don't have a delegation with them. They don't have anybody with them. Their broadcasters not providing them with any funding. Like they're creating their own costumes, creating their own set pieces. They're like doing all this stuff. So it can be an unfair advantage in that sense because somebody might have a lot of support, a lot of knowledge coming in with them and helping them out, and other people might just be like, I don't know, I'm doing the best I can here. So, yeah. Anyway, that's not to say Sudden Lights has that or doesn't have that. I don't actually know. But I do remember I saw them on the purple carpet today. And they had intentionally dressed up as the Beatles looked on the cover of Abbey Road. And even the guy who was dressed up like Paul was barefoot. It was fantastic. And they said that the outfits they were wearing were authentic from like the 1960s and 1970s like clothing, and it took a while to find them. Crazy idea. Anyway, for them in terms of the song, I think it should go through. I think it's a very lovely song. I think it's very interesting. I think it's interestingly constructed, and I like the sound of it. I think the staging will be important in terms of how many votes they get to then put to send them through. People might not be engaged with it on their first hearing of it, and that's where staging is important because then it grabs you and brings you in and goes, oh, okay, I will vote for that. So that's why I'm saying that about their performance. Okay, next one is Malta. The group is called The Busker, and they have a song called Dance Our Own Party. And there's not every year, but many, I called this one the obligatory saxophone song. So you've got to have a saxophone song, right? This is the one. They had a really cute video where the part of the song he talks about at the beginning, he's basically like, I'm more comfortable in my sweater. I feel better in my sweater. And but then like I'm out at a party and somebody says, hey, do you want to dance? It's that kind of thing. And so in the video, at one point they're like crawling through a tunnel, and the tunnel's all made out of stuff that's been crocheted and knitted. And I crochet and I knit, and so I was like, oh, that's so cute. And he's wearing a sweater. They're all wearing sweaters, and I was like, oh, I like that. So I like I'm engaged with that aspect of it. And I like the idea of like social anxiety, so he's more comfortable in his sweater. I think it's a cute song. I think how like if they just get up there and dance and are cute and funny, I don't think it's gonna go through. I think it really needs some strong staging to capture whatever it is they want to capture to get them forward. I saw a piece of it, and it looks like they are kind of sticking with some of the kind of kitschy aspect of it, and I think that's smart. And if the whole staging is like that, not just their 30 seconds, but the whole 3 minutes, I think they can definitely have a possibility of people finding that fun and therefore giving votes. So, do I think Malta will go through? I think it's a maybe. Okay, next one is Moldova, and it's not done in English. It has a really lovely, how do I put it? Like, yeah, it kind of gets you moving. It's like, and I was gonna say campfire music, and I don't mean like, oh, once in a yodeling, no, I mean like people playing the drums, and and they're just really getting into the groove, and it's that kind of feeling, and the video definitely is takes you there. So, and it talks about the moon and the fires, and he made a promise to his sweetheart, and and all it's things that are in there. And so I think it depends. I don't know how if people will engage with it or not. So I really don't know. Last year, pretty sure it was last year, there was the French, yeah, the entry from France was actually, I believe, Britannia. Wow, I just forgot my vowel sounds. This happens with, I've been learning Dutch, and the Dutch vowel sounds and the English vowel sounds are a little different. Anyway, it was it also, I don't know, it just has some similar flavors to it from the French entry from last year. And I liked the entry they had last year. I like these guys. Do I think it's going to go through? I'm not sure. There's a lot of heart and a lot of passion there, but I'm not sure if the song is strong enough to take it through. Only 10 of these are going to get to go through. So, there's got to be some that don't make it. Sorry to say. Now, there's 16 here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15. There's 15 in the first semifinal, 16 in the second semifinal. So 5 of these are not going through. 10 of these will be going through to the final. So that's why I'm saying that I think it really can come down to the staging in terms, especially because it's a televote. So you're not going to have people in the industry who are saying, yes, I think this should get 12 points or whatever. You're going to have people who are like, I like it, I don't like it. Not necessarily people who've listened to the songs dozens of times, who are invested in how a song is crafted, how well will it play in front of a audience, how will it play over, repeated over a year. The people who are voting are going to have a very different thing that they're looking for. They're just looking for something that's going to make them happy, probably. So that's something to keep in mind in terms of will these people go through or not. So the next one is the Dutch entry, yay, with Burning Daylight, Mia and Dion, and they're both they are, let me scroll this back down a touch. They're both individually singers in their own right, and the way the Dutch have been deciding who goes for the last, I don't know, 5, 8, 10 years, something like that, is they don't have a national selection. Some countries, they'll have like a competition where like a whole bunch of bands come and they perform. Whoever wants to be entry, goes, and there's an event, they perform, and they're voted on, and and it's chosen. It could be chosen by a jury, it could be chosen by the fans. It varies from country to country. The way it's been done in the Netherlands the last few years is there's a group of people and they figure it out. And so they basically took these 2 people, from my understanding, and said, boom, you 2 work together, make a Eurovision song, and you're in. So they did. And so first I'll say the Dutch press has been really harsh on them, and that undeservedly so. They do not deserve what the Dutch press has been like on their case. They're like, oh, they can't sing, or they can't do. No, they sing great. They are, they're lovely looking, sounding people. So step off, Dutch press. I think they're fine. Unfortunately, I think that kind of thing can get into your head, and I'm worried that that'll affect how they approach their performance. Also, listening to each of them sing, and I've heard some various different things, and I like them individually. The song that they wrote, unfortunately, the lyrics don't really connect for me. It's talking about burning daylight, which for me means like wasting your time. And then there's things that kind of like I can see kind of how they got to where they get to, but like they take turns doing course verses, and so he does the first verse, and then she does the second verse, and like her verse starts off with like I don't believe in God anymore, and you're like wow that is like a huge heavy statement like crisis of faith like tell me more, let's expand upon this, how did you like wow that's like a crazy thing to just walk in the room and start with, but let's go, sure, if that's what you want to talk about, let's do that. And and then it kind of goes off like it's like it goes from that really super strong statement to other details or other things. I don't know. It's not quite there. Something's not quite there for me. Um, and the song itself is lovely. Like I like the sound of the song, and I understand that it has a lot of emotional attachment from the phrasing burning daylight. I think it's her grandmother used to say that. But just the song itself feels a little uneven in terms of the lyrics of it. And also, I really feel like this is like their vocal qualities are when they come together and they sing, it's together. Um, but it's together in the sense of it sounds like one voice, and I'm not getting like a rich texture that's coming from that. That it's like you take A and you take B, and I want to get C, but I'm just getting A plus B, and it's still equaling just A and B or A or B. Um, and so I feel like if they'd done like some harmonies, which I'm certain they're capable of doing together. I've seen them together, and they seem like they really are connected as like two artists listening to each other. So I really hope that they take this experience and do other stuff together, because I would love to hear more from the pair of them. I think there's a really neat chemistry between them. I just don't think this song is it. I think one voice could have done this. I think it could have been a one vocal song, or they needed to do something different. And instead of coming in and sounding like each other almost, do something so they sound different from each other, whether it's in harmonies or whatnot. So, or, like call and response, or, around like, start singing it and the next person, start singing it after it. And so there's that kind of like layering in that way. I just think they could have done some other things with it. And it's unfortunate that yeah, I don't think it's going to go through, unfortunately. I don't think it's strong enough to beat some of the other songs in here, and um, unless the staging, back to the staging. So if they have good staging, I think it can do well. But otherwise, I think it might not, which is too bad because I mean, of course, I want to, yay, go Dutch, and I would love to see them go through. So, and if they don't go through, whether they go through or not, I really hope we hear more from them in the future, because I think there's some real potential there, and I'm excited to see if something else comes together. Okay, so let me move on. Um, Oh my gosh! Last year though, the Netherlands entry Steen, so S and then the number 10, but the number 10 in Dutch is tien, like yeah. So S teen, and that's like her name. It's also like so it's like a play on words because it's her name also Steen. Um, her entry was oh my gosh, beautiful. I loved the way it sounded, and her vocal quality just like really like the sound of the song and the lyrics of the song, which were in Dutch, but it still really resonated with people. And she should have done so much better than she was in the final. But I was like, dude, this should have been top three, and it wasn't. I was really disappointed by that because she was great. I think part of it is that she herself is just in her mannerisms. You may have noticed I'm rather, open and active with my mannerisms, and she is not. She's like the opposite of me in that sense. So she is very reserved and stays very still. And there were times when there's so much passion and emotion in the lyrics that she had, and her body was like stone still. And I think people were looking for something in her body to express what was also being expressed vocally, and that didn't happen. And I think that may have lost a couple of votes. So I think that could have been what happened there. Um, but man, Steen was great, and the Deep is on like two or three of my playlists now. It's so good. So, all right, let's move on. Norway, King of the Queens, or sorry, yeah, Queen of the Kings. Um, this has it's one of the it's well done. This is definitely going to go through. It builds well. It's just got this real strong pounding sound to it. It just has this like Viking almost thing going with it. And then I wrote that there was this nice calm before the chorus, but then it's like a really like raw. We bringing it in, and yeah, I think it's really good. I think it's well paced. And she's come in with this like I don't know big. Anyway, and her outfit is it's got like big shoulders and like pointy out bits at her hips, and she just really pounds it with it. And I think it's gonna go well. I think a lot of people really like it. Vocally, it's great. Lyrically, it's great. Musically, it's great. I think this is definitely going through the final, and I think it's going to do well in the final. So that's exciting. So go Norway. Good luck. Portugal. All right, so Ai Curaçao, and it is not in English, it's in Portuguese, I believe. Mimi Cat is the performer, and she wrote this song like 10 years ago. She's been performing for a while. She's not new to this business. And she apparently, like, all of a sudden one day, this just rolled out of her, this song, and she wasn't sure what to do with it, so she kind of sat on it for like 10 years, didn't publish it or anything like that. So it's a new song out there. And then she brought it out this year, and it's so cute. Like you can see her outfit. It's kind of got this like fluffiness to it. The outfit she has on stage, I think, also has some fluffiness to it. Like she's just gone for this big bold kind of look. It's cute. It's got a great and it means my heart. And she's like, oh, ouch, my heart, kind of thing. And it's got this fast pace, and the lyrics are fun, and they have a fun sound to it. I think it will do well. I think it will definitely go through to the final, and I don't know where to place in the final. I think staging can definitely push it up. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I think, man, I mean, this could go anywhere. I would say anywhere from like the bottom of the middle to like, top three. Like it's really got a wide range of where it could end up. It depends on how it really catches people. But I love it. I think it's fantastic. And I'm definitely looking forward to watching her perform it. And watching like the world see her perform it. So okay, let's move on. Serbia. Serbia is possibly a dark horse in this. Luke Black is the performer, and he wrote this song kind of like in a dark mental place, I believe. But like, and the idea is like kind of, well, one layer of this song is like you're in a place and you feel like you're being controlled as if you're in a video game, and then at some point you're like no, and you break out and you're like game over, I'm out, and so that's where he's going with this. And so it's got these like grungy industrial sounds to it, going on. And yeah, and it's so funny because on stage he can get very like boom and like really bring it, and then you hear him talk and he's like, oh yeah, so I wrote this song, and oh, it's yeah, it's very kind of nervous being here. Like he's just like so the opposite of that. He's just adorable. Not that that should like impact how you vote or anything, but I think he is lovely. So my notes are that I didn't like it at first. The sound of it was just too much, right? but it has really grown on me. And yeah, seeing more of him behind the scenes has just like so much increased my interest in it. And then he did this beautiful piano version of it where he played it on the piano. So he's this like already this a fantastic like artist and musician, songwriter, singer. Like he's just got all this going on. He's so talented. And yeah, he did this piano version where it's just him and a violin. So beautiful. So I really hope it goes through. It'll be interesting to see, because it could be something where the TV voters are like, "Whoa, this is so weird, no way." It could be depending, maybe it's people will be like, "Ooh, that's really cool, it's innovative, that's that catches me in a really interesting way." And there could be people like me who just totally are like, "Wow, this is something amazing," and take all my votes, please. I really hope he goes through. I hope people get him because it definitely deserves to go through. He deserves to go through. And I hope we hear more from him in the future as well because he's fantastic. Little side note, the person who performed last year for Serbia, Konstrakta, this was a thing. And it was kind of like a biting song about just how obsessed people can get with what the media tells them to be obsessed with, with the how do you look and how shiny is your hair and all these various things. And she is excuse me, she is on the delegation helping Luke Black, and I think that's just fantastic because I just thought she was fantastic and I loved her. So even though we don't get to hear more from her this year, I'm really glad to hear that her influence is still there. So that's I'm happy about that. So go Luke. I hope you do well. All right, our next one, second to last for the semifinal, the first semifinal, is of course Sweden and Lorena with a song called "Tattoo." So Lorena actually won with a different song. Oh, I just forgot what it's called. Anyway, there's like dozens of people out there right now shouting out the name of the song, I'm sure. Anyway, so she has now decided to come back. She says in one of the interviews she was basically saying like something just really spoke to her and said this is the time you need to do this and you need to apply, and she did, and she won for Sweden. And so the song is called Tattoo, and she's basically saying like you're stuck on me like a tattoo. That's it, that's the gist of it. And there's a lot I like about the song. There's some really nice the flow of the music through like the beginning and all the way into the chorus and the beginning of the chorus, but then the end of the chorus, I don't know, she just repeats tattoo a lot, and almost sounds like a bird going cuckoo. So I don't I don't know. That just kind of ruined it for me. There are people who absolutely love this song. They absolutely love her. They think she's amazing. And so there's a part of me that feels like maybe it's a little overhyped, the song, because it's her and not the value of the song. So for me, I've been like, it's okay, but I don't think it's amazing. And people are like, oh my gosh, the song is amazing. So I'm feeling a disconnect there, which makes me think that people are really excited about her performing it and not necessarily the song. But then again, here I am with like Luke Black in Serbia and going like, Luke Black is amazing. So, okay, pot kettle black there. So anyway, I'm not sure about the song personally. From a Eurovision standpoint, I think she's absolutely going through to the final, and there are people who are saying she's likely to win or has the possibility to win. So it's possible she will win. We will see. Absolutely, she will be in the final, though. I will not be surprised to see her in the final at all. In fact, I would be hugely surprised to see her not go through to the final. That would be an upset. So I definitely think Sweden with Lorraine and Tattoo definitely going through. All right, the last one is Switzerland with Remo and his song Water Gun. And basically, his thing was the song is like, I don't want to be a soldier. I want to go be a kid. We were shooting water guns at each other, and now we're soldiers and we're shooting real guns at each other, and I don't like this. I'm on board with that concept. So I like the idea of the song, absolutely. I think it evolved from talking about water guns and just talking about being in body bags, and it didn't kind of bring me back. I felt like it needed to kind of be like, let's just go, like, I don't know. I'm a sucker for a good story, and I know it's hard to tell a story in 3 minutes. So I feel like the story that he was telling didn't really work for me. So, yeah, the song goes on too long, or the story isn't told in a way that worked for me. I don't know. I get to the point in the song where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to move on. So, I did make a comment that maybe he should have stayed with the nostalgia aspect of the first verse. And there's a part of me that it's it reminds me of a manufactured song. Like, let's include this element, and then we're going to do this. We're going to do A, B, A, B, A, B, C. And I don't know if that's the case with this song, but it feels like it could be. So, anyway, will Switzerland go through? I don't know. Um, I have seen a piece of his staging, and it is actually engaged me more than the music video did. So if that, and the song does kind of like bring you in, right? Um, so I would say there's a possibility that this actually goes through to the final. Will it do well if it does go in the final? I don't think so. I think there's too many other songs that are stronger, and that it would fall to the bottom. But it might go through the final. Who knows? We will know Tuesday night. We will know at the end of the night who of these 15, which 10 did go through and 5 did not. So we'll find out. But now let's talk about the second semifinal. So Thursday, we do this all over again, but instead of 15, we have 16 that we are looking at. So let me go back up to the top of my list because I have them alphabetically. All right, Albania with Duya. It is a family. You're allowed to have 6 performers on stage, and they have 6 family members on stage. It's the main vocalist, and then her parents are there, and then she has 2 sisters and a brother. So it is absolutely a family affair, and they are just delightful to watch together. The song has this like gorgeous passion to it. And it's got a nice beat to it. The whole thing is a really nice package. Um, I feel like the song is maybe missing something in the lyrics when I look at the translation. On the other hand, I'm looking at a translation. So it basically talks about something that's fallen apart, but I don't see where it goes. Like, it doesn't say, okay, so now we're done, or it doesn't say, hey, can we get back together? It just says, hey, we fell apart, is kind of what I got from it. And so I'm not sure where that's going to place. Wherever it places, I do wish this family well. They seem really lovely, and I could spend like an hour watching them do things together. So, we'll see how they do from a song perspective. Okay, the next one is Armenia. The performer, her name is Brunette, and the song is Future Lover. It's a really good song. I dig the sound. Kind of like tripping up the clouds. You know, it sounds like a fairy tale in sound is some of the notes I wrote. The lyrics didn't really get me, but yeah, there was a transition part that I liked. There maybe some texture was needed to keep it in the song contest to have it go through to the final. Um, uh, it has some repetitive stuff that I like. The topic, she's talking about like a future lover, like, anyway. So we'll see. We'll see. I think people really like it. I think people are really engaged with what she is doing. If her staging is good, then I think she's absolutely through to the final. How it does after that, I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see. I will have more knowledge on how I think about the final after we see them in the semis, because then we'll know what their staging looked like and how that all came together. Okay, let's move on to the next one is Australia. Potentially their last year. We don't know because they only have been invited through 2023. So this could be Australia's last year, but we'll see. So the group is named Voyager, and they've been around for a couple decades. Like they're not new to this either. They wrote the song called Promise, and it was really funny because the lead singer was talking about how they're like, we want a Eurovision song, so they wrote a song incorporating Eurovision elements. So they've got like a guitar solo, a guitar solo, or something like that. They've got like sweeping vocals. They've got like they had all these elements that they wanted to include in the song, and they did it. So there we are. I enjoy the song. I find it takes me along. It starts off with though with like if you've never done anything like this before, you've never been alive, and so there's some discussion that feels a little gatekeepy, like, well, if you haven't done this before, you haven't been alive. What's wrong with you? And but I feel like they were trying to go for a journey, like take you on a journey. That was part of their thing anyway as well, and so I'm not sure about the song. The funny thing is, if you listen to it from a different perspective, because he talks about like, hold me until I die. I'm getting ready to watch the sunrise. All these various things, and you could actually interpret it like it's a vampire who's like, I'm done. I'm gonna watch the sunrise, and I'm out. That kind of thing. And so, yeah, it's funny if you listen to it from that perspective as well. So I'll just let you do that if you get a chance to do it. Anyway, I like the band's personalities. I find them interesting, but not sure about the song. So we'll see. Um, I think they'll go through the final, though, probably. I think this is a strong group, the second semifinal. It has a lot of things in it, a lot of people in it that I think have some strong songs and can do really well. I know there's opinions about which one is stronger this year, the first or the second, and I may be having a different opinion than the other, especially like Wee Wee Blogs. I can't remember if he thought it was the first was stronger, or the second was stronger. Anyway, I think the Australian song sounds, it's a rock ballad, right? So I think it's going to go through. I think there aren't that many rock ballads in this year, so I think it's going to get that vote. All right, next one, Austria, and this is, I think, my favorite for the year. Like I have a couple that I just love, and this is one of them. Teya and Salena, two musicians, but they met they were at a songwriting camp, and the camp was specifically focused on Eurovision, 3 minutes, and tell your story and all of that, and so basically they would like move people around, I guess, in this songwriting camp and be like, okay, today you're partnered with you, and tomorrow you're partnered with you, that kind of thing. And so they were partnered together, I guess, on the last day. They were telling the story earlier, and they started working together, and this song came out, and just came together over with that, and oh my gosh, it's so good. I just love it. They're talking. So the title of the song is "Who the Hell is Edgar?" and it's talking about Edgar Allan Poe. And the protagonist of the song is basically saying, there's like, I feel like I've been possessed. There's Edgar Allan Poe is just writing stuff through me, and then it just kind of goes from there. And then there's this great chorus where they say Poe 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 Poe, Edgar Allan Poe Poe, and that. It's a nice hook. Like it really gets people engaged, and I think that will also help because remember I was saying earlier, you have something that'll hook people in from some sort of a movement or something vocally, and you get them to keep sticking around with your song, and they have that in this song. Potentially on purpose, potentially unintentionally. There's a lot that came out of Who the Hell is Edgar that was not on the surface intentional, but yet on future listens and as you start to think about it, it really, there's some deeper and deeper connections, and so on the one hand, people will ask the women, Teya and Salena, hey, did you intentionally include this aspect, this thought, whatever? And they'll be like, no, not really. But on the other hand, like your brain is this amazing pattern making machine, and Teya, the darker haired one, and Salena is the lighter haired one. So Teya, yeah, I keep having to remember this. So Teya was did like a literary degree or something like that. So she's read and studied Edgar Allan Poe and has some familiarity with some of the underlying themes and anyway, so her mind would have already been like thinking in certain ways. So I think while yes, she may not like on the surface have put things in there, I think she's got a great songwriting mind and is able to put things in that on a deeper introspection. You see them even if they weren't intentional. So anyway, love the song. The harmonies are great. I love how there's like a commentary on how little people get paid in the music industry, like the performers, the lyrics, the music, just it really matches the pacing of the lyrics and the lyrics and the music. They pace together really well. I absolutely I love these two together. Like in their interviews, they just have this great chemistry together. Yeah, oh my gosh. So I really am hoping they go through the final. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't, and I hope they do really well in the final. We'll see. I just think they're fantastic. So good luck to you two. Okay, so our next one is Belgium. Is Gustav there, and he has a song called "Because of You." Now, apparently, he's been around the music industry for a while, but kept kind of getting shoved to the side or something, and so he is back, and he is himself, and I'm like loving it. He's got this. There's just like this positive. So his uh, way of describing the song, "Because of You," he's like, "Because of you, I'm in a good space. I love myself, like all these things, these really positive things." And my husband was like, "Well, why is it just because of that one song? Like this one person, it feels very like." Kind of controlling or something like that. I'm like, I don't think that was the intention of the song, right? The songwriting. He's basically, and he was talking about it today, just basically like how somebody can come into your life and kind of point things out for you. So I think I take it at that perspective. Also, it just has this. He's brought in a lot of like just LBGT like anthem kind of feel to it. I absolutely expect to see this like pride parades and parties and so apparently it's easy to interpret differently, but I think it is absolutely an anthem. I love it. It's got to me, it's about having very positive relationship lyrics. Like because of you, I look at myself in a better light, and now I feel better about myself, and I'm in a better place. Thanks for helping me get there. That kind of thing, as opposed to oh my God, you done me wrong. I'm gonna key your car. That sort of thing. So I love this other side, and I'm really glad for it. I'm hoping he has a really strong performance because I want to see him in the final, and yeah, I hope it goes really far. Either way, though, I do think this song's going to go well after Eurovision. There was another song called Snap last year that became really popular on like TikTok or Instagram that was in Eurovision. She didn't do well in the final. I think it was like in the middle. I can't remember. I thought the song was great. And then the song is just taken off in the cyber world. So I think even if Because of You doesn't go far in the final, I think it will go far outside the final, and that's cool. All right, our next one is Cyprus, Break a Broken Heart. It feels well crafted, um, but the the lyrics don't really grab me. He just basically keeps saying, "You can't break a broken heart. Like you tried to break me, but you can't break a broken heart. Um, you done me wrong." You can see I have an opinion on the broken heart relationship songs. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I think it's okay, but I just I don't I don't know. It might grab people. It might go through to the final. That's definitely for me in the maybe category of the maybe it will, maybe it won't. Hard to say. But if it doesn't go through, I wouldn't be surprised. Um, it's got a nice hook though. So anyway, all right, moving on. Denmark. So Denmark has a guy Riley with a song "Breaking My Heart," and it's got this kind of like bubblegum pop tune, auto tune, anime esque. Like it's definitely on that like lighter side in the music spectrum. It's adorable. It's catchy. The lyrics and the actual music aren't really for me. The more I listen to it, the more I like it, though. And I think he's adorable. So, we'll see how it goes. I think, from what I understanding, he's got a very strong internet presence, like on Instagram or TikTok. I think Instagram. So I would expect that he will go through to the finals based on the televote. I think we should expect to see Denmark in the finals, in the grand final. Estonia with Alika. I'm not sure if it's Alika or Alika. Bridges though. Oh my gosh. So I love it. She is playing piano and then just has this vocal it just comes out of her and um it's it's strong, it grabs me. I feel like she's telling a story. I think it's well constructed, like the pieces fit together well. I think the song and her voice are well matched. She wrote it, so I mean good. I mean, I think it might have been a songwriting team that she was a part of, but she was obviously involved. And so anyway, I think it's a very strong song. Will other people have that same opinion? I don't know. I really don't know what's the what people are going to think of it. Again, staging could definitely play a part here, so it'll have to be hard to. It's hard to say whether it'll go through or not. I would love to see it go through to the final. So I hope it does. Okay. Um, Georgia with Echo is the name of the song. And I think, is this. I think this is the one where she's like, the lyrics are kind of odd. Like, days in a row, I'm thinking I know, I've got a big heart, something my throne, there's a better way, this is not a secret. It's a little esoteric. I play a lot of board games, and I don't really get into the abstract games, they just don't grab me. This feels like I'm listening to an abstract game in song form. And or that I'm looking at an abstract painting. And I I like impressionist paintings. Abstract paintings don't really grab me. So I think, so I am not engaging with this song in the way that the artist wants me to. I enjoy the sound of it. I like the music. I like her voice. The lyrics don't sell it for me. She could be singing anything and I would like it basically as much, right? Like she could just be singing la 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 and the song sound and the music and her voice together. I still would like it the same. So obviously for me, the lyrics are not pushing it forward for me. Um, so it comes down to will the voters find it engaging enough? And the video was interesting, but they used a lot of like forward and then backward video. So obviously she won't be able to do that on stage. So what she does on stage will be interesting to see what is it instead. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Greece is the next one with his song "What They Say." My notes are is that it's very lyric heavy. I mean, it's like he's got a lot to say in this song, and he does a really good job of saying it. I think. I mean, from one perspective, being a song contest, lyrics are a huge part of a song, and so in a sense, this is what Eurovision should be about. But I don't know if it's going to really grab people. I think And he's very young. He's like 18, 16. I think he's maybe 16. He wrote this song when he was like 14 years old. He's been a songwriter for a number of years. And basically, it was at the point where he got like a record contract and they were like, yes, we're going to, you're going to be doing this stuff. And he's like, cool, I'm fulfilling a dream. Holy crap, this is like overwhelming, and it was like a panic attack kind of thing. And so he kind of, I think that's where this song came from, that it was overwhelming. And so that's what the song is about. So I don't know. I don't know if it will grab people. I think if the staging is in harmony with the lyrics and allows people to stay with him as he has all this stuff to say, I think it could do really well, because then you've got the visuals that are going with your audio, and I think that could take the song into the final. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. If he's just standing still, it's not going to go anywhere. I think he really needs to have some staging that's going to take you along the journey of what he's singing about. So we'll see if that happens. Iceland. I just love Iceland. They always have interesting things. This time it's a song called Power. Unfortunately, it doesn't grab me as well as some other Icelandic entries have. But it starts off nice. I really like the way it starts off. And but and maybe it's just a repetition thing. Like I don't like Lorraine doing her cuckoo thing, and Iceland she's doing power, and I think it just, I don't know. It's not, and maybe too because in the video when I was watching it, like every time she was like power, 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 and I'm like, I feel like I'm watching like a 1980s cartoon or something. I'm like waiting for, I don't know, Scrappy Doo to come jumping out and go power or something. Anyway, so I got that stuck in my head, and then I got distracted and I didn't like the song anymore. So I don't know. I feel like, yeah, it felt like she was trying too hard. But then again, that was like for the nationals or for the competition. What she does for the actual Eurovision competition could be completely different in the staging and the way she uses her body. And she is amazingly athletic. On the purple carpet they were showing, she was in like this really cool little outfit, like, pants and a top, long sleeve, like just all there. It was fitted. And then all of a sudden she's just like, oh, let me go and do a handstand. And then she's just like walking, on a handstand. It's like, whoa, what? Like, she's just very fit and very capable with her body. So I hope they use some of that in her staging, because having her just stand there and pump her fist in the air, she can do so much more. So I hope they incorporate some of that. And if they do, I think she will go through to the final. If it's just her singing the song and, pumping her fist in the air, I don't know that that's enough to take her through to the final. All right, next one. La Lithuania with Stay. Oh, this one has, oh my gosh, there's just like some beautiful sound that comes out of this. I don't know why it's called Stay. Like there's so much else going on in this song that she could have called it something else, I think. Anyway, I really like the sound. The concept behind it is that is of like there's this kind of invocation for women, and so that's what she has. Like the women around her on the stage are singing this to her, and like helping her as she's managing whatever it is that's going on in her mind. And it's interesting because I feel like, yeah, she's on a journey of self-discovery and learning to love herself. And then like she throws in this lyric like, I know it's hard to love somebody like me. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Wrong direction. So I think without that, it's like a perfect song. It just, yeah, it just seems like it's out of place for everything else that's going on in this song. Like, yeah. And I get that she's trying to like say, hey, I've got faults, but I would have loved if she just said, I know I have faults, but hey, I'm working on it. Like, that'd be so much more powerful, I think, than, hey, I know it's really hard for you to love me. Like, ugh, don't push somebody away in this beautiful song that you've created. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see what she does on stage, and if people engage with it. It reminds me, I can't remember off the top of my head now, but there's been a couple other songs in the last few years that have had that beautiful vocal quality coming in. Sister, I think it was last year. I think that was Iceland. Um, there was another one with I think six of them standing around together. I can't remember who it was. It's just this wonderful vocal quality that came out of that, and I think and she has it, and it's really cool. She's got this outfit that's like head to toe, in different like fluff coming out here and poofs coming out here and whatnot. But even all the way down to her shoes is all this like Lithuania gold color, and it's lovely. Like she's done some really neat things. So it's just that one line in the lyrics that just bummer. Anyway, I think it's a beautiful song, and which means it probably won't go through because I just love it. So I hope it goes through that. I really do because I think it's just beautiful. All right, let's go to Poland. Um, so remember I was talking about how you got to have your pop bops, and here we go. Poland has brought it with Solo. Um, it's a cute song, and the video was cute too. And it's like I said, it wins the cute pouting look at me award for the year. Um, she's like, it's the you're gone, or you screwed up, you done me wrong, you played me dirty, but now look at me, I'm going solo, solo, solo. I'm going solo, solo, la 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 la. I'm so pretty. She's adorable. I mean, I think I like the song. I think it's gonna do well. She can perform it well. Like that, I'm not slagging off on her as a performer. I think she's doing great with it. I think her and the song are well matched. And I think whoever brought those two together did a great job. I don't think anybody else could sing this in the way that she does. I think her accent really sells it on the chorus. So I definitely got this feeling, and I don't know if this is the case, but I got this feeling watching the video, her music video, like she was doing a lot of it herself, maybe like pulling clothes out of her own wardrobe, and so I'm hoping that now that it's in like the it Eurovision, that I think she's got a delegation who's going to bring that game up a little bit. Like, not saying anything's wrong with her wardrobe, but like if I go grab things out of my wardrobe versus having people make things for me that are tailored for a very particular purpose and particular reason, it's going to be a different game. And so that's why I think I'm looking forward to seeing, hopefully, she's been able to, people are able to help her take this to the next level. I think if that's the case, then I think it probably is. I'm trying to remember what she was wearing on the carpet. Oh, baby. The song starts off with baby. And so she was wearing this dress which was like crazy big, and on the from the skirt, and had this train that went on another person length behind her, and it had written on it baby, like Beybe. And so obviously her costume game is definitely been upped since the video. So I think her staging could definitely push her through. I think there's going to be enough people who are like, hey, she's cute, she's sexy, we're going to put her through. So I think she's definitely going to get some of those votes. Between her and Unicorn, I think they're definitely going to be pulling in some of the I like to vote for sexy women vote. I think they're both going to get it. I mean, and they do a good job of being sexy on stage. So, good for them for getting that vote. All right, our next one is Romania, which is DGT off and on. So DGT apparently in Romanian, I'm guessing, means basically it's like to play with somebody, like it has the same implication of like having somebody wrapped around your finger, or to play someone like a marionette. It's that kind of thing, and so the letters DGT are DGT, which is a word DGT, which has that meaning. So that's what the song is about. So there's some cleverness there. My understanding is this was like a student project. He's young, and it did well. Remember I was talking earlier about how somebody who doesn't have funding or doesn't have a lot of funding coming with them? I think it's him. And that being the case, I think he's doing a great job. The sound of the song, the music, and the voice are really engaging. He's got a really rich voice. I think the title is off putting. I think people just won't connect with that. I think it's too much of a too much of a language joke, or not joke, but a language play on words that is in a language that people aren't fluent in. Not enough people are fluent in to know that. So if I'm a Eurovision viewer and I just sit down, with my drinks and my snacks, and I put on the second semifinal, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, DGT off and on. I don't get it. And then he does this whole song. I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna play. So yeah, the video that he did was it was off-putting. I just have to be honest. It was very. It was. The intention was to be very sensual and sexual, I think. Basically, the idea is that there's this woman who is controlling him, and he's trying to get away from that control, but he's not being able to do so, and he keeps going back. I think that's like what's going on there. And but it just basically had like women in very little clothing being more distracting, than him. And there was, I don't know, it looked like a student project. It looked like stuff that I did when I was in college. So, I mean, like, no skin off his teeth on that one, right? Like, good on him. And he's at Eurovision, for Pete's sake. And I never made it to Eurovision or anything of that level when I was in college. So I think there's just some raw edges on this, and I think if he had people helping him out, could really work those raw edges. I think this is just not his time. I think he might have some things to say in the future. Come back, do something else. But I think this is just not going to connect with people, and I don't think it's going to go through to the final. Sorry, Theodore. Okay, the next one is San Marino, and Like an Animal is the name of the song. The name of the group is Picked Jacks. I don't know a lot about them. I haven't read a lot about them or listened to interviews. The lyrics, at one point he's like, and he repeats this throughout the song, that I smell you like an animal. Um, and there's different things like the song construction is interesting because he'll say a thing, and then he'll have like a rhyming thing with it, and then there's like a line, that and so it's kind of like it builds and it builds on itself in an interesting construction. And so there's times when I'm listening to it and I'm like, okay, that's a really interesting thing. Like it's not just line rhyme line rhyme line rhyme. It takes you somewhere in a different place. And so sometimes I like that song construction, but then sometimes I'm listening to the lyrics and I just feel like I'm at a bar and there's a creepy guy, and I'm like, I just don't want to be around the creepy guy. So that's where I'm at. So sometimes I like the song, and sometimes the lyrics are just really off-putting for me. Will it go through? I don't know. Um, I don't know. I guess maybe the second semifinal is weaker because now that I'm looking at who we've got, yeah, okay. I mean, Poland will go through. Um, Probably Lithuania, probably Iceland. Yeah, okay. So I yeah, I don't know. Will it go through? I don't think so. But if the staging is good and it engages people, maybe it will. Hard to say. Okay, and then the last one that we're going to look at from the second semifinal is Slovenia, with Joker Out is the name of the band, and their song is Carpe Diem. It is not in English, and so I think that will be potentially a difficult thing for the audience, the voting audience, to engage with. But it is a good song. It's well constructed. It's well put together. I like it. I like the sound of it. It doesn't really stick with me though. Like if you were like, "Hey, that Carpe Diem song, what's tell me how it goes or give me a piece of it," I would really have to struggle. Um, yeah, it doesn't stick in my head. It doesn't have a hook. It doesn't have a piece that I can, you know, blurt out. So I'm worried that it won't go through because of those sorts of things. But I could be wrong. Like it's well put together, and there might be enough people that it connects with, that engage with it. So it could come together. Given that, I think that's right. I think I was incorrect at the beginning. I think the second semifinal maybe isn't as strong as the first. So with that, maybe they do go through. Hard to say. Real quick, I just want to go through the grand final, the six that are already through. We won't get to see them in the first or the second semifinal, so we just kind of have to go with their final performance to know how it's going to go. So I will give you my quick thoughts on these six. France with Évidemment by Lazara. Great French song. She's got the that kind of like, I am French and I do French things. It's just so rich and, le French. It's just very French. I guess I don't know how else to put it. I love it. Um, and she does like some big things and some little things. She's got some great control of her voice and her breath, and I really like the wordplay that she does. It's all in French. I took some French years ago, so maybe that's why it connects to me more than say other songs that are not in English, but maybe they don't connect to me. Anyway, I really like it. I think it'll do well. The thing that always gets me is that the folks who are only in the grand final don't get a chance to really cut their teeth in the semifinals. But they do have the chance to go to all those other concerts and cut their teeth and see what's working with the crowd and what's not. So I always worry that they don't have a chance to really bring that performance on the final night the way that the people who've gone through the semifinals do. So like that's could be the only thing that catches her is if she doesn't have that edge, that hunger. Otherwise, I love the song and I think it will do well. Germany in with Lord of the Lost is the band, Blood and Glitter is the name of the song. And these guys are flamboyant, but it is rock. Like we're talking hard, like burn your vocal cords kind of thing. Um, there's more to the song than on the first hearing. And at first I was like, but over time I'm appreciating it more and more. How will it do? I don't think it's going to win. I think it could do well, but my guess it'll end up in the middle of the final. And actually when you get into the final, because there's 26, they end up with two boards, and so I could actually see Germany on the bottom of the first board, the top stuff. I don't think they'll fall to the bottom board though. I think it's strong enough that it'll stick around. Okay, Italy, with Due Vita, Marco, and I wrote down that has a lovely sound, lots of emotion. I'm pretty sure it's in Italian. I could not sing any of this to you though. I don't remember any of it. So how will that play with voters? Will they remember it? Will they be excited about it? I mean, it's only one time they get to see it and then they vote. So I don't know how I could see it dropping to the second board in the final. Spain with Blanca singing Ea Ea. Um, this is one. Is this the one where it's like a flamenco dance sound? It's got a great sound, and the way she sings it is fantastic. And there's like a whole mythos behind the lyrics of what she's singing, but it's not in English, and I'm worried the voters won't get what's going on behind that. If she has visuals that kind of explain what she's singing about, it could do really, really well because it just has all this stuff going on with it. But I think a lot of it does get lost in translation. Like if you go and do a translation, it doesn't come it doesn't capture what I think she's trying to say. So hard to say how that will go. It really depends, I think, on if the visuals on stage also sell the story that she's telling in the lyrics, because vocally it's fantastic, musically it's great. She herself moves in this wonderfully fluid motion. So will the voters engage with what is being said? That's the key on how well that does. Last year's winner is Ukraine. This year they've sent these two with their song Heart of Steel. It's good. I like it, but I guess I was expecting something maybe a little more profound from Ukraine, and it's like a normal sounding song. It's like, I don't know. I guess part of it is because like last year we had Kalush Orchestra and they brought something really unique with their group. And the year before that, and actually 2 years, because 2020 people submitted stuff, everybody got the songs, and then the event was canceled. So then about half of those same artists were chosen by their countries to represent them again in 2021. And so from Ukraine, we had a group called Go A, who submitted songs for 2020 and then again for 2021 and competed. And excuse me, I was blown away by them. I think they are amazing. And they go, what they do is they go through and find like folk songs in Ukraine, and have like these little old ladies teaching them, songs, and then they take that and they combine that with some traditional instruments, but then also with like today current techno sounds, and construct songs that bring all that together. I mean, it's beautiful stuff. Um, and then of course with Kalush Orchestra last year. And so I think I was expecting something more profound and with layers, and so they've sent a normal song in a way to me, and he has a heart of steel. Anyway, it has a nice groove. I made a note that it seems to start and stop too much. Maybe that's good. Maybe that will engage people. Yeah, I look forward to seeing what how this goes on stage. They had outfits on today or yesterday at the carpet. I watched it today. They had the two of them were there, and they had jackets on, and they were like mirror images. And so it's like this side had a big lapel going that one, and the other one had a big lapel going this one, and one of them was like in black, and the other one was like in red, or they were opposite in colors and stuff. But embroidered on there, they had the names of children who have been born during the war and the weights of those children. And I was just like blown away with that. Like the attention to detail to put that into your clothing. So it's very much on the front of their minds what's going on in their lives and in the world around them. So I was surprised that there wasn't more of that in their song, but maybe they were trying to be subtle because you're not supposed to be political with your song at Eurovision. And so maybe they're trying to be subtle, but it was too subtle for me. Maybe that's what happened. Anyway, we'll see how they do. I don't expect that they're going to get a repeat win. Um, Because our very last one is the United Kingdom with Muller. I wrote a song, which is everything. It's a bit of a bop. It's a "You Done Me Wrong" relationship song, but I love it. It's got some positive vibes to it. It's got attitude. It's well constructed. I find the video is a lot of fun. She does like this dance thing, and I want to always do the dance with her. And like and I can't dance as well as she does because my things hurt. But I mean, the song is so well put together. It's so well done. I just love her stuff. So basically, she's saying the song is that you screwed me over, and I was gonna like stay at home. I was gonna pout. I was gonna like trash your car, but instead I wrote a song about the whole thing. So I didn't do those things. I wrote a song about it. It's just like neener neener. It cracks me up, but the way she does it is just perfect. It's again, it's a perfect fit between the artist and the song, and like the solo earlier we were talking about, and I just love it. I think it's fantastic. I think the UK voters have no clue how great of a song they've got. What a fantastic entry they've got this year on home soil. I'm just like they lucked out so much. I think she's going to do really well with this song. I really hope so. I think the jury votes might not. They might think it's too thin, too, you know, they might criticize the song too much. I don't know. It's hard to say because I mean, I absolutely see this song on the radio. I see it in TikToks. Like I see it being featured in TikToks, like in my future vision mind. I can see this being on the radio, being in people's videos, being on people's song lists, being played on Spotify over and over again, being played on YouTube constantly. Like I can really see people engaging with this song, and so I think it's top notch. I really hope that that it does really well. So if you want to know my favorite songs, probably they are "Who the Hell is Edgar?" Definitely is in my top one or two. It's probably my top one. I love Bridges. Um, that's Estonia. Um, it's funny because I didn't put this as my top, but I really, you know what? I'm going to change my vote. There we go. So this one also then. So those are my top three in terms of what I like. What's going to do well? We'll come back later and we'll find out. Anyway, so there we go. There is a quick rundown. Okay, not so quick rundown. Too late. Um, of what is Eurovision? What are some of the rules of Eurovision? How does this work? And then a rundown of who all is participating this year and my opinions on how I think they may or may not do. I am very curious to see how this is going to go. um, I'm curious to see what you all think. So if you have an opinion, there we go. I'm gonna put my faves right there. But if you have an opinion on what you think about Eurovision, if you are somebody who is not from Europe and this has helped enlighten you on what is Eurovision, feel free to put comments about like what are some outstanding questions that you have. I know a lot of times Eurovision is geo-locked, so you have to live in an area that is actually showing Eurovision. So I know a lot of my American friends who don't have a VPN are not able to watch any of it. Sometimes some of the videos end up online though, on places that you can see it, especially after the fact. So hopefully you'll have a chance to engage with some of these fun songs and some of these artists and be able to see what is this crazy thing that people are talking about. If you are a Eurovision viewer, I would love to hear what you have to say. What are some of your thoughts? I am relatively new to being a Eurovision fan. I would say that I have been a fan since 2020, but not really going back any further than that. So there's a lot of history that I have missed. You know, I'm learning things of like Lascia Tumbai, and I'm in love with a fairy tale, and even Duncan Lawrence Arcade is before I really was engaged, but it was because of him that it was in the Netherlands, and that got me to start paying attention. So there's a lot of Eurovision history I missed in the past. So maybe if you think there's things that, oh my gosh, you really need to go check this out, definitely point that out to me, and maybe to other people who are also newer to being a Eurovision fan. I definitely am rooting on the Netherlands, even though I don't think they're going to have a strong showing, but I will definitely be wearing my Dutch orange on the night of their competition, and then we'll see how it goes from there. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming along and joining me on this crazy adventure, and we will see you next time. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.